Hey everybody, I just want to go ahead and say that I was recording this episode while the earnings were coming out live, and so I didn't know if Microsoft was going to come out during the video or not, and I said that, but it ended up coming out while I was recording, and I was able to talk about it at the end of the episode, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But other than that, I'll let you just go ahead with the original episode. Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode of The Daily Dose. Today is Tuesday, October 5th, and we've started to enter into this huge week of earnings. We have a lot of big companies reporting. Some are reporting right now as this is being recorded, and we'll get into that in just a second. But I want to say, if you like this type of content, I release one of these episodes every day that the market is open, just a short recap of the day. That'll be up on YouTube, so you can subscribe there, and wherever you listen to podcasts, so you can follow there. And on the weekends, I have a more in-depth video that just goes more into some different things that are going on in the markets, as well as a recap and rundown of what happened that week. So be sure to subscribe and follow for that. But if we get into what's going on today, so the markets surged once again, and I think there's kind of two factors at play here. I think the first is optimism for these earnings. So I think the market is expecting to see corporate profits kind of stay steady, not be overextended and really, really good, because that would allow the Fed to keep tightening really hard, and they don't want that. But I think that they're expecting them to just kind of come in at expected, a little higher than expected, and that would be best case scenario for the markets. And I think that's why we've seen such a big rally the last couple of days. Also because we have some central banks around the world, like in Japan and China, that have really started to loosen their policy. And that's because of the aftermath of what's going on here in the U.S. and those economies facing immense pressure from just the tightening that's been happening here, but also just around the world. And I think the markets are trying to sense a shift, just looking for a shift of that hawkish monetary policy. And they're just looking for anything that would signal kind of a pivot from central banks around the world and from here in the U.S. And that's kind of what's been fueling this rally. So today, after the bell, we get some big earnings. Coca-Cola posted this morning. But really what we're looking at is after the bell, which was Microsoft, Alphabet, Visa, and then tomorrow, or later this week actually, is Meta, Apple, Amazon. I do have the results for Alphabet as they just came out. So the consensus on Alphabet was $1.25 earnings per share, and Alphabet reported $1.06 earnings per share. So they missed pretty bad. And if you'll give me just 1 second, I'll look to see what the stock is doing after hours. So this is one of the biggest companies in the world. They just disappointed on their earnings, and after hours, Alphabet is down 5.5% already. So you can see that if this trend continues, the market is poised to probably drop. We'll probably head back to those lows. I want to keep this open because I want to get any kind of notification about earnings that comes through. Because I do believe Microsoft is reporting right now. But let's get into the charts because I want to talk about the effects that this will have. So we've really bulled hard the last couple of days, and if we see that the earnings are actually really disappointing, then I do think we at least have to come back down to this level. The lows, we have another rate hike coming in a couple weeks in November. It will most likely be 75 basis points once again. It will hopefully be the last 75 basis point rate hike, but as of right now, we are still likely to see a 75 point hike in November. So I do think we could put some pressure on these lows, especially if we visit them again. It's been 1, 2-3 times that we've kind of come back down, even 4 if you count this right here. So if we come back down again, I do think the pressure will be a lot, and that maybe we'll have to see a break below this level at the 3,500. I still think a likely scenario is the 3,250 on the S&P 500. We've talked about why that makes sense, but let's go back so I can show you again. So the 3,250 makes sense because we had a double bottom here in 2020 that really sent the market into a channel, and the market was in that channel until, wow, I really messed that up. So this was up here. And, okay, sorry about that. And the market was in that channel until it broke in January. So that's a really critical level at the 3,250. And that's what I'll be looking at for sure on the S&P 500. Let me bring this back up. Okay. So that's really what my target is on the S&P 500. I do think that 3,250 makes a lot of sense. Excuse me while I have to readjust this because I messed it up. Okay. So I think that makes sense on the stock market. We're still waiting on a couple more earnings to come through. I'm trying to find Microsoft right now, but I can't seem to see if their number has come out. But if it's anything like Alphabet, then they're going to miss. If we see some of these big companies keep missing, then we'll definitely see a turnaround here on this little rally that we have on the market. We're also approaching a pretty big resistance point, so some things that could push the market back down for sure. And we will talk about Microsoft's earnings tomorrow if it doesn't come through before the end of this recording, but we'll be able to talk about that and a little bit more about Alphabet, as I just had the EPS expected versus what they reported. And in addition, we'll have Visa, and later this week, Meta, Apple, and Amazon. So that's a big deal. Could definitely sway the market back down, get us out of this little bull trend that we have going, this little bear market rally. But let's take a look at Bitcoin because it actually showed a lot of strength today. I think Bitcoin is more rallying off of the kind of sentiment around maybe a pivot coming. I don't think that there's a pivot coming anytime soon, but you do see Bitcoin kind of react heavily to this Fed. That's what we've seen recently, at least. So that's definitely something to watch. It's approaching this level right here, the 20,500. It's already kind of started selling back off and cooling off, but I'm still keeping my eyes on this support here, the 17.7 to the 17.5, because if we break through there, we could see another leg down. That's what I'm looking for on Bitcoin. But yeah, we it's a big earnings week. There's a lot of news coming out. Actually, Microsoft just reported, so let's talk about that. So Microsoft's earnings just came out. That's the other huge big tech company that was coming out today. Let's take a look at that. So Microsoft beats expectations despite slowdown in cloud growth. Microsoft reported its fiscal Q1 earnings after the closing bell on Tuesday, beating analyst expectations on the top and bottom line despite cloud spending growth falling year over year. Here are the most important numbers from the report compared to what analysts were expecting from the company. Revenue, $50.1 billion versus $49.6 billion expected, so they beat there on the revenue. Earnings per share, $2.35 versus $2.29, they beat there. Productivity and business processes, $16.5 billion versus $16.1 billion expected, they beat there. The intelligent cloud, $20.3 billion versus $20.3 billion, right at expectations, and personal computing, $13.33 billion versus $13.1 billion. So Microsoft beats, Alphabet misses. So a little bit of inconsistency there. So I'm sure that the market will be reacting positively for Microsoft and maybe negatively for Google, maybe especially negatively for Google because they missed, even though Microsoft beat. So let's take a look at some of the Google numbers now that are coming through. So revenue was 57.27 versus 58.2, so they missed a little bit there. The EPS was pretty low, $1.06 versus 125. So I think that it says that their earnings was mainly because of a miss on advertising, but we'll have to see. And we'll have to see how the market reacts in the futures market tonight and tomorrow morning. So I'm going to wrap it there. So in conclusion, the first two big tech earnings came out. Alphabet missed, Microsoft beat. So a little bit of inconsistency. We'll have to see what comes out of Apple and Meta and Amazon later in the week, as those are the biggest companies in the market. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. Be sure to subscribe and follow for all of the coverage that I will have of this week. And I do thank you for listening or watching to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.